So, so Pop-Tarts are introduced in 1964 when you were about 10 years old.
Right.
Do you remember when they came on the scene?
I sure do, yes.
You really do?
Yes. I mean, there was a few things like that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When Yodels came out, I don't know if you remember Yodels, there was a box and each Yodel was wrapped in foil. And the Yodel was a rolled up kind of chocolate cake with cream in the center and dipped in chocolate, and each one was individually wrapped. And I don't know, I think there was something about the individual wrapping that gave it it looked valuable, you know? And it looked like these are very valuable things.
Right,
so the Pop-Tart box and the Yodel box were two that I remember being very intrigued by as a kid. It wasn't even what was in the box, it was the boxes.
And do you think it was also your age? Is this sort of, that age, 10, 11, 12? Is there something special about that, do you think? Or
is there something special about that age?
Yeah,
well, you can't look at it in isolation. You gotta remember they've decided to go to the moon. Okay, the president has said, we're going to the moon. We're going to land a man on the moon. And we're also going to come out with instant breakfast. You're not going to need to eat breakfast anymore. It's going to come in a packet. And we believed all of these things. It was such a great time. And I've had these conversations with people about, that was when advertising was really amping up and they were getting really good at it. And I had this discussion with Zach Galifianakis one time about, and he said, don't you hate that they lied to us? And I didn't hate that at all. I liked that until I got the Frogman in the mail. I believed he would swim, that he could swim. I didn't care that they lied, because before I found out, I was really having a good time.
Right, but
so
also
all of these foods and things were wonderfully exciting things.
Yeah. And by the way, was the ring ding wait, what is the one? It wasn't the ring ding you said. What was
the Yodel?
The Yodel. Is the Yodel was before the ho ho? Because I kind of
don't know if when the ho ho.
Yeah.
We didn't. Drake's. When I was a kid, it was Drake's and Hostess. And I don't know what ho ho.
Yeah.
I don't think that's either one.
All right, and so when the Pop-Tarts came on the scene, I mean, what do you think attracted you to them?
I think, looking back on it, it was clear that a lot of thought went into this. Mm-hmm. That there's 2 per pack, which is exactly what you need. The packs were individual, the different flavors. There are certain things that go in your hand and do something to you. I've never smoked cigarettes. Since I was a little kid, I've always hated cigarettes. But a pack of cigarettes is a phenomenal thing to hold in your hand. It just feels good. It feels right, the way it's made. And that Pop-Tart box, putting your hand on that in a supermarket, your adrenaline, you're going, I don't know what this is, but I'm in on this. I want to be part of this.
And did your family have sort of a Pop-Tart policy? Were you
policy?
Well, I mean, because some parents did not allow them in the house.
Where did you grow up?
In Bethesda, Maryland, but we would.
Oh, so those were bright people there. That was a higher IQ in Bethesda, Maryland. I grew up in South Shore of Long Island.
And were you allowed to have them for breakfast? I mean, because for some people they were seen as dessert.
I don't know what you're talking about. We ate absolutely anything at any time. I didn't have a salad till I was 40. That's not a joke.
And you look great, so that says
Thanks.
something.
Well, I figured it out eventually. But I did not know, and my parents did not know, these things are not food. No, they loved that they didn't have to make breakfast. That's what Kellogg's figured out. You buy this for your kid makes it for themselves, and you're done. That's genius.
And I know you said that for many kids, it's the first thing that you actually warm up.
The Pop-Tart is,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
cereal is the first thing that you assemble
Right.
and eat on your own. I'm going to get the milk. I'm going to get the bowl from over there. I know where the spoons are. And you put that together. Otherwise, you just sit there and your mother puts food in front of you and you eat it.
But here you have real agency.
Exactly, agency. And that I often spoke of agency when I was 10.
When you were 10, 11, and 12.
Yes, that was, I just thought, Mom, there's no agency here.
So, and did you have a favorite flavor right from the start?
Brown sugar cinnamon, obviously. Although I ate all the flavors.
Right.
I had no say in the flavors. I had no say in anything. I never asked for them. I don't know how they got there. They were just there. Maybe I pulled it off the shelf and put it in my mom's cart, or maybe she did. I don't remember.
I'm surprised that it took them that long to add frosting. It was 2 or 3 years.
Why, you think that's obvious, frosting?
Well, I mean, I think okay, maybe with the benefit of hindsight, but they look a little drab to me when they're not frosted.
You're a tough audience. I thought they were absolutely sensational instantly. The frosting to me was okay, but the sprinkles, and then the chocolate. When they make chocolate Pop-Tarts, that's just gross.
That's gross, but I
Yeah.
actually love this. The sprinkles were introduced in 1968,
I
and
love that you studied this. I love it.
yeah, so
I love that I'm wasting your brain.
so because I mean, anyway, for me, it's sort of strawberry with the frosting and the sprinkles. I just think it's great. It just
That's
feels,
what you like.
Yeah.
Do you ever eat them nowadays?
You know, it's funny. Right now, I have in my apartment a box of the brown sugar cinnamon, and unrelated to this, they were bought before I even knew about this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I don't love them, and also the toaster broke, so I've been eating them untoasted, and I don't want to put them in the microwave, which you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the toaster broke.
yeah.
And you did what about that?
Well, I need to replace the toaster, but
Yeah, clearly.
do you toast them? Do you
Sure, yeah, I always toast them. It's like otherwise like a cold hot dog.
Right.
90% of the flavor is the heat. 90% of the flavor of ice cream is the cold. This is how food works.
Do you ever freeze the Pop-Tart? Because
No, I never tried that.
it's on the box. They actually say it's so interesting. I thought that was some kind of thing on the internet. But it's
Yeah.
actually on the box. It recommends it. Yeah. Anyway, this started as a joke, as a bit.
Yes, it was a bit. I suddenly realized how much I loved them as a kid, and I think this really calls for a deep exploration. And I went out. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I said I went to the supermarket, and I bought Pop-Tarts, and I brought them home, and I made them and started writing late at night. I realized it was just like I was like a dog with a bone. this is my kind of thing.
I thought you were kidding at first. So
I'm always kidding.
okay. Well, right, but you were, and then you pursue it, and then you get serious about it, and then you make it great. So so you thought this would be a good bit. You went and you bought the Pop-Tarts. You brought them back.
Yeah, I really wanted to explore the feelings that I had about it for myself, because I knew I can't be the only one that has these feelings about it, because it was so unique. There was cereal.
Yeah.
Cereal and pop. They have nothing to do with each other. They take you to the same place, but from a completely different direction. So that was what was exciting about the Pop-Tart. This rectangular was like this envelope. It was a thin rectangular item that you put in your toaster, which I had never used in my life. The toaster. What with the toaster?
Right.
So you remember those moments in your life.
Yeah, I mean, and it is remarkable that after 60 years, it really hasn't changed.
I don't know about that. I can't confirm that or deny it. I still like them, but in my memory, that changes have been made.
To flavors, yes, although the
No, to the whole level of quality of it.
You think the quality's gone down?
I don't know.
Okay. And I know originally the edges were a little more rounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, these companies, they don't understand that we fall in love with these things. When they put a hole in the top of the clear barrel Bic pen, I called the president of Bic in the 90s, and I went, "What are you doing? You can't change this now." And it turned out a kid had swallowed a cap
Yes.
and choked.
Yes.
So to protect themselves legally, they put a hole in the cap.
Because then if the kid swallows it right, you can breathe through.
You can breathe through it. And it completely ruined the aesthetic perfection of the pen.
Okay, but once you heard the explanation.
No.
Okay. All right.
We can lose a few kids.
Yeah. And then the holes in the.
Don't destroy perfection. It's
Right.
too hard to achieve.
And it is so, and the simplicity of it. It is so simple. The Pop-Tart, and I know you say it's changed, but it still remains. It's pretty elegant looking.
Oh, well, that's awfully nice of you to say.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you feel that way.
Yeah.
I still totally believe in them.
And you know why they have the holes. I know you know that.
Well, to release the pressure, yeah.
Right.
But it makes it more appealing.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels more sort of homemade, more baked.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. The holes have nothing to do with choking. So there.
No.
Okay. So whose idea was it to turn this bit into a movie?
Spike Feresten, who was the guy who worked on my TV series and wrote The Soup Nazi. And we used to joke about it. It was a running joke of let's make a movie about Pop-Tarts that starts with the real story that we started with. And I think it's the only real thing in the movie, is that Post came up with this idea. Kellogg's heard about it very late in their development and decided to try and catch up. And so we kind of imagined a Kellogg's executive on vacation with his family, getting this news, running out to the pool, going, "Kids, get dressed, get out of the pool, I got to get back to Battle Creek, there's a crisis." So we kind of thought that was funny. That sounds like the first scene of a movie.
Okay. Are you worried at all that some kids will think that this is the real history?
No.
Okay.
Are you?
No.
Well, you haven't seen the movie, but you've seen the trailer.
I've seen the movie. Of course, I've seen the
Oh,
movie.
you have
I've
seen
it
the movie.
twice.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's very funny. I've
Oh,
seen it.
thank you very
Yeah,
much.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, we're CBS Sunday Morning. We're very
Yes,
thorough.
you have to do a deep dive.
Yeah, we have to. So, to me, it is remarkable that the Post company announced this months ahead of time. They let
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. They let the cat out of the bag. They let Kellogg jump in there.
I know. But that's what makes these great stories.
Yeah. How much of this do you think is about the name, though, the success of the Pop-Tart? Because it's a great name.
90%.
Really?
Maybe 95%. When you're a kid, you're Country Square, Pop-Tart, it's over.
And so just so people understand, Country Square was the name that...
That Post came out with.
Right.
They did arrive basically simultaneously to the shelves.
Yeah.
But the graphics on the Kellogg's, they were just better at it.
They were just better at it.
Yeah.
Who would want to eat a Country Square? I mean, it's...
Maybe they thought it was wholesome. Maybe Post was going for a wholesome angle.
That maybe it's sort of like said
Right.
that this is healthy or
Right,
something for you. Yeah.
right.
And then the name they came up with ultimately, it's a Toast 'em Pop-Up.
Yeah, then they were trying to catch up. And then they were playing catch up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it had been a joke, this idea of turning the bit into a movie, and then Spike Feresten sort of said, no, I really think this could work.
Well, it was then the COVID. It was COVID, and I wasn't working, and nobody was working.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting home alone. I was in Long Island, he was in LA, and he says, "I really think this is a movie idea. We're sitting here in our homes day after day doing nothing." He goes, "Let's just get some guys together that we like." So we put the B-movie team back together and said, "Let's just talk about it." He said, just let me put this group together for one phone call. I said, "Okay, one phone call. I'll do one phone call. And that's it. And then I'm done. Because there's nothing here." And on the phone call, Andy Robin, one of my other writers from the 90s, said, do you remember the scene in The Right Stuff where Jeff Goldblum runs down the hall, bursts into the darkened conference room where LBJ is sitting and goes, it's called Sputnik. He goes, that's the movie. And I went, oh yeah, that's a movie.
So
the seriousness of the space program making the Pop-Tart, that's it.
yeah, taste pilots, and then you just start coming up with things like that.
It just, in every direction we looked, it was funny. Right. The original script was 200 pages. We could not stop inventing ridiculous things. We had Fred Armisen in a zero-G plane. You know, there was a thing about JFK's cabinet. When he assembled his cabinet, the directive was, I want the smartest people in America, period. And he got, what's his name, from Ford, who was the guy, McNamara.
Robert McNamara.
Robert McNamara from Ford. So that was how we're going to invent the Pop-Tart. I just want the smartest people in America.
The best and the brightest.
The best and the brightest. So who was the brightest minds of the 60s? Chef Boyardee, Jack LaLanne.
And the guy that you have as the creator of the Sea Monkeys, did he actually create the Sea Monkeys?
He did. And that was his name. It was Harold von Braunhut, who had somewhat some Nazi things there in his past, which we of course loved.
Right. It just
we definitely want ex-Nazis, because that also matched the space program with Werner von Braun.
Ah.
Right?
Yeah. I didn't know that, but okay.
You didn't know that Werner von Braun was a Nazi?
I didn't.
Just say no. I didn't know.
I didn't know that, but I also didn't know. I don't know anything about Werner von Braun.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Well, he was a German astrophysicist, and they were very good in that area. And we're trying to get to the moon, and this is no time for politics. Get the smartest guys.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the Pop-Tart.
It's great to work with people you like, right?
What else is there? I've worked with a lot of people I don't like. If they're talented enough, it's fine.
But when you're making a comedy like this, and you're just...
When you're making a comedy, you want funny people who are not always nice people.
Yeah, okay.
Any group of people, there's some not nice.
Did you feel like you were, I don't know, going into a time machine, going back?
Yeah. And that's the only time that I would want to go back to, because when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an adult in the 60s. And this was my chance to do that, to be a grown-up in the 60s.
Yeah. The Mad Men scene is great.
Oh, thank you.
It's really funny. And I know you loved that show.
I love that show.
Yeah.
And I love those guys. I'm friendly with both of those guys, John and John.
Yeah. You know, I wish he had had a Bay Area businessman who was kidnapped by a sugar baron and turned into a half llama.
I did have that in there. How did you know about that?
I just found out. I did a little digging.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, when we go to visit the drug lord of sugar, El Sucre, we wanted exotic pets on his front lawn. And we also wanted a llama with the head of a guy who was captured on vacation and then crossbred with the llama.
Naturally.
And he would just yell at us as the car went by, "My name is Alan Hoffman. Please tell my wife I'm alive." But the reality, you know, there's a silly putty reality to comedy, you know. And you have to make these calls, these brutal calls of, I think that's a step too far.
Right.
Now, for some reason, I went along with the sea monkey ravioli creating a new life form.
Right.
That, for some reason, I had no problem with.
Yeah.
I cannot justify either of those decisions. I don't know. But part of me regrets Alan Hoffman. By the way, what's funny about that joke is the name Alan Hoffman.
Yeah. And why is it funny? I mean,
don't really even know, because it's the name of a guy on vacation.
Right.
Who did not expect anything like this to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, a guy probably like an accountant on Long Island.
Yes, an accountant on Long Island,
Yeah.
in Jamaica or the Bahamas, who somehow got captured by this sugar gang, and they did this to him.
Jeez, I would have loved to have seen that movie.
No, don't
back
say
in
that.
with
It
the-
makes me.
No, that movie. But that was made in
Oh.
different. Charles Grodin played him. I mean, I'm just imagining. You know,
Oh, Charles Grodin is Alan Hoffman.
yeah.
Oh, genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
he would have been great.
Yeah.
It must have been fun casting this.
It was so much fun. And Hugh Grant was the guy who made the movie. We actually had nobody. I had one part cast, and
Which
I
was
Jim Gaffigan as
Edsel
Kellogg,
Right.
the third.
Yeah.
And nobody else was available. Nobody else wanted to do it, and I'm not quite sure how we got to Hugh Grant, but he loved the idea, and I have just idolized him for so many years, and just the idea of being in the movie with him was so exciting to me. And as soon as people heard Hugh Grant was in it, then everybody jumped in and wanted to be in it.
And
he was my favorite. He's my favorite person in life, Hugh Grant. Apologies to all the other people that I've met. He's the most entertaining person to hang out with.
And because you've met a lot of people on the
I've met a
planet.
lot of people.
Yeah.
He's my favorite person.
And how did he? But what is it? I'm not convinced yet. I mean, you said that he's great to hang out with. What is it specifically that makes
Because
him?
the idea of, and this goes back to when I was a kid in the 60s, I thought, my idols were Muhammad Ali and Sean Connery, JFK. Those what I thought, that's a man to me. That was what a man, and I wanted to be a man like those men. It never happened for me. I never really turned into a real man, but I always wanted to be a real man. And Hugh Grant is, to me, one of the last real men. Real men should look good in nice clothes, should be funny without trying, should be charming, always have an amusing anecdote. What happened to those guys? They're gone, but he's the last one.
He delivers.
Oh, and better I got to hang out with him,
Yeah.
which is better even than being in the movie with him.
Yeah, and the character he plays actually existed. That actor.
That's right.
With an
Thurl
amazing name.
Ravenscroft. Yeah, that name. See, when you're doing research and you come across names like Thurl Ravenscroft, you go, well, we're not going to beat that. That's the name.
Right, and the audience won't know that person existed, but
They might if this makes the cut.
Well, and maybe it should, because I think it makes it funnier. I just love that that's a real person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that Thurl Ravenscroft sang the Grinch song? You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
No, I did
Yes.
not.
Yes. People oftentimes think it's Boris Karloff who sang it. He didn't. He had someone sing for him.
So when we started working on this movie, here's how I think the universe possibly works. The first thing we wanted to do is we wanted to start the movie with an episode of To Tell the Truth, which you may remember
Yeah,
from
of
the
course.
60s.
Yeah.
And so we look it up on YouTube, episode of To Tell the Truth. First thing we see, the panel of the 3 contestants is sponsored by Kellogg's. And we go, that's weird. There were dozens of things like this that happened along the way. I think Spike has kept track of them. I don't remember them all. I'll give you the best one. So I called Mark Ronson to write the music for the song Sweet Morning Heat, which is the theme song of the movie that plays in the end. He has a guy that he works with named Andrew. So I go into a writing session with Mark and Andrew and me. And Andrew says, my dad was in advertising in the 60s. He worked for, I should know this name. I think it was Gray.
Okay.
And he came up with Tony the Tiger and Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Jeez. That's
His
funny.
father.
That's crazy.
And he throws that off, he tosses that off as if, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? That's insane.
So, did you know you were going to direct it from the beginning?
No, But I thought, what would be the least work? The least work is for me to just tell the actor how to say it instead of me telling the director, and then the director telling the actor, and then the actor going back to the director back to me. I go, I think I could, it's just less work if I just tell the actor.
Because that's what would have happened if you'd brought in another director.
That's what's going to happen anyway. That's the way we did the TV series.
Yeah. Well, because I rewatched the 60 Minutes profile on you from the late 90s.
Wow.
And it showed how exacting you were, right? And that you were in there in every element.
I do like to be exact in comedy. You know, when I was a little kid and my mom would take me shopping for clothes, I would never like anything. And she used to say, you know what, Jerry, you're a real pill. And she was right. And she was right. She had no idea. Well, actually, she did have an idea that that would be my gift, that I'm really difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, or really precise. You say difficult, but it sounds like you're precise.
I'm precise, but if you play Major League Baseball and you're a pitcher or a hitter or whatever, if you're not precise, you will not succeed at this game. So, I mean, that's not 100% true in comedy. There are people that are just funny and not precise. But for me, for my thing and what I do, I have to be that way.
It's so, I thought you were going to say you're as sort of precise, as exacting as you've always been. I didn't expect you to say you're even more so now.
Even more so.
Why do you think more so?
I just, all these years in the game, I've kind of figured a few things out.
Right.
And so I have to use what I figured out. I have to use it. I have to say, I know this is funnier if you take a little longer beat there.
What was the biggest surprise for you directing? Is it kind of like the opposite of stand-up? Because in stand-up, you got total control.
That's right. But you're in stand-up is also an architectural medium. This hallway has to go to this foyer, otherwise the dining room is not going to have a nice feeling when you get there. Mm-hmm. And that's the same as a joke. Okay, we need to say this like this, so that when we get to this, then this pays off. Mm-hmm. This will catch them by surprise. Mm-hmm. So we have to disguise this part. So stand-up and comedy and movies, it's the same architecture, assuming you're making a nothing but comedy movie.
Yeah.
This movie has nothing in it but comedy. Although the scene with the little boy in the diner, I thought had a sweetness to it.
It did have a sweetness.
And that was fun for me to do. I never did anything like that before.
And it was a good sweetness, not high fructose corn syrup sweetness.
Right.
Which, by the way, is illegal in parts of Europe, which is why Pop-Tarts, you can't find them in many parts of Europe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Only the ones without high fructose corn syrup are available, which are, I think, 4 of them.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Man, you really work.
Did you? Okay. Well, how would you grade yourself as a director? How do you think you did?
That's not my call. I don't give that grade. You do.
Will there be a sequel?
I never planned anything in my career.
Yeah.
This TV series was not my idea. The movie was not my idea. I just hang around, and if something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I just like being a comedian.
Well, you know what they do now? They turn the movie into a stage musical, and then they do a movie musical version.
Right, which sometimes works. And sometimes not.
And sometimes it really doesn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, it started as a bit, now it's a movie.
Yeah.
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 Is this so is this sort of like a Barbie thing, where is Kellogg kind of behind this?
This is not like Barbie at all. Barbie was made by Mattel. Kellogg's did not even know we were doing this until just a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
And you put all those characters in there? You
Yes.
weren't nervous?
A little. We found a lawyer who said, I think it's okay. And then we went and made the movie. And we got him to, I said, could you write something? Do you have a letterhead? He says, yeah, I got a letterhead. I said, could you just like write a page that this is okay, that I could show to Netflix? And I said, well, we have, of course we've vetted this legally.
Right.
We're not going to take their brand, their products, and all their characters that are owned by them, their own intellectual property. We wouldn't just take that without being sure that legally we had the right to do it. And I don't think Netflix really looked at the letter, and we made the movie.
Sounds like a great lawyer.
Yeah, he was great. He was great. He said, I could get you the letter today if you want.
Just a couple of hours of work.
Yeah. Just tell me where to send it.
Well, and when you think about it, none of the characters come off looking bad. I mean, the Quaker Oats guy is a little bit of a pill.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of a religious zealot type guy.
Yeah.
He believes in the purity of the grain and doesn't like all this sugarizing of his world.
Yeah. All you have to do is add something to it, like sugar or fruit or anyway, to make it better, which he probably wouldn't want. I always said, by the way, was it always just Snap, Crackle, and Pop? It's so funny because I'm like confusing them with the Stooges and thinking that there was a fourth at one point.
Was there a fourth?
Yeah, like
sound?
a Shemp. Yeah, was there like it was?
There was no Shemp. There was never Snap, Crackle, Pop, and Shemp. No.
No Zeppo.
Now, when Snap, Crackle, and Pop asked me for an increase in their salary and their presence, and they want more media attention, I suggest to them, what if I add Boing and we split your check 4 ways?
Yes. Yeah, and it's so funny in that moment when you suggested adding Boing, I remember that, and I kept thinking, oh, he's going to suggest somebody who was actually a fourth, and then I realized it wasn't.
No,
yeah.
It was never.
Yeah. The other thing is, I mean, is this? Did this feel nostalgic to you?
Of course. The prop room on this movie was the greatest place you could ever be. It was a room about this size, and every single inch of it. This is the movie business. They find the real stuff. I've never had such professionals. Like, they found everything from the 60s, all real. The toys, the clothes, the newspapers, the comic books, the bicycles, and I would walk in there and we wouldn't want to leave that room because it was just going back, it was fun. The briefcase that I carry is a real 60s Samsonite briefcase, which was my dream to have one of those.
Gosh, had you been born 10 years later, I mean, you would be nostalgic about different things, but it does seem like such a great era to have been a kid
because we're
in.
old guys.
Yeah.
Everybody loves their own youth.
Yeah. You think, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still, the 60s was such a funny, it's funny. It's a funny time. Everything was kind of cartoony.
Right,
in
the
60s.
futuristic, weird Jetsons kind of thing. Yeah.
People didn't care that this is not true. We're not really going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, going to the moon is like we're all going to go. First we're going to send one guy, and then we're all going. No, it's just the one guy. That's it.
And it was crazy that this was all happening in Battle Creek. I mean, what a perfectly named place.
Perfect name, and a little town for these giant companies. It was quite. It would just screamed, make a comedy about this.
Yeah, it would be so great if you did an opening in Battle Creek, like
Oh, a screening.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I'll send that up the ladder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.